welcome. I didn't realize the time's already ticking. I was just having a great conversation with my old friend Khalid. Let's do a quick intro. This thing is every week. It's a happiness class. It's supposed to be interactive. Please join in the live chat. Disagree with me, please, or whatever you feel like. Just say it. Loads of stuff at bigquestionsanswer.com. All the previous shows, all of it's free. Today's topic is about money, how to buy happiness. Second half is about anything you want. Khalid is my name and his name, and all the stuff we talk about is based on ancient religious truths, and logic and science. So you don't have to just believe. Hopefully, it'll make sense. So let's get going with this thing. First thing is, so we're talking, the main topic, the first half is about how to buy happiness. Okay, so let's stick this on. How do we buy happiness? And the first thing is, like, when we try to buy happiness, we're trying to buy success. That's one of the
Mm,
key things people are looking for. So, how do you find success? And one way of looking at success is like personally, how can we make ourselves feel better? And I mainly refer to Islam, okay,
mm,
although Islam believes in all the other religions at their source, at least. But the problem is, a lot of religions have lost their original scriptures. That's one of the reasons why I rely on Islamic teachings and the Holy Quran in this in example. So down there it says, "So fear God as best as you can, and listen and obey, and spend in His cause, and it will be good for you. And whosoever is rid of their covetousness, that's this need to collect things all the time of his soul, it will be they who will be successful." So very different, interesting definition of success. It's not like how much stuff you have, it's
mm,
more like how less of a slave you are to the stuff, which is
mm,
really interesting. So my very quick two pence, feeling, commentary on this is, people struggle to feel successful. The reason why they struggle to feel successful is because they're going about it completely the wrong way. If you're going in the wrong direction, you're never going to get there, right?
mm,
Okay, so try to make you, rather than, and the wrong direction is trying to make yourself look great, better than other people, make look down on other people. Like, that's not going to make you happy. In fact, the opposite is going to make you happy: being together with other people, connecting with other people, making other people feel good, and then that will make you feel good. Any thoughts?
Do you know? It was funny. There's one um, platform that I watch often, and I think I was talking about this last time. I like to watch TikTok videos, and in particular those ones that have little hacks. They have information. Sorry, let me start again. Assalamu alaikum to you first of all, and
Peace be
peace be upon
upon
you.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So, in the name of Allah, most gracious, ever merciful. Do you know one of the things I was just mentioning there was that on TikTok, there's a lot of different videos. There's obviously some good, some bad, some boring. But one of the new trends is that people do good acts, and you see a lot of people going up to homeless people or people that are in dire need themselves, and you can see the homeless people, people that are down and out. And this is mainly happening in America, but is trending across the world now. What someone does is they go up to, like, say, a homeless person, for example, say, "Look, oh, excuse me, my friend, I've got no money. I'm a little bit hungry. I need to get home. Can you help me?" And you'll see majority of the time, if not all the time, this poor helpless person who's in, you can see their clothes are all, disheveled and everything. They will take out the last money they have and give it to that person, and that
Yeah.
person, obviously, he's doing it as an experiment, a social experiment. And then what happens is, he says to the person, "Look, oh, I was just doing a social experiment," and then gives that person lots of money and helps him or her,
Yeah.
either buying food. Now, the thing is, I think one of the reasons I think this is becoming more and more popular is because, one is the feel good factor. Someone sees someone helping someone down and out, someone who's in a dire situation. They feel good that someone's doing a nice action. But hopefully, what will happen there then on is that this will have a ripple effect. That's what we're hoping it aspires to.
Mm.
But um, there was a you recently I saw again on TikTok this big famous singer, and he said he learned. He's really, really, yeah, no, he's super rich, but he said he found out after a while that the things that make him happy is by sharing his money with others and giving the
Yeah.
money away, giving the wealth away. And last time there was another person talking about how Jeff Bezos, for example, the richest man in the world,
Mm,
he's got
yeah.
so much wealth that his wealth just keeps accumulating. But the point is, he will never have enough of a life or enough of a lifetime to spend all that money.
Right.
But the point is that when you give the money away, you do actually have some sort of joy. When you give money to charity, when you give money to a good cause, then
Yeah.
it's you do. I do feel better anyway.
Yeah, and they've done social experiments
Mm,
on this. Like literally, there's videos called
mm.
like you've heard of TED Talks.
Yes, yes.
These are by experts in their fields,
Mm,
and they're saying we've done experiments to see what happens.
mm,
If you buy a coffee for yourself, you get
mm.
they do experiments where they give money and they say you can either buy a coffee for yourself or buy a coffee for somebody else, right? And
Yes,
there's like if you just buy another coffee for yourself when you don't even need it, like you've probably had a million coffees in your life, right?
right. Yeah.
Like how much stuff do you need? In fact, we need very, very little
Mm,
practically, right? In fact, if we have more than we need, we make
mm.
ourselves sick, which is a very big problem in the West at the moment. Give ourselves diabetes and stuff like that. But
But
when you give stuff to other people,
mm,
that's actually it's not the stuff that is actually important. It's an excuse to connect. It's like another way of saying I love you, right?
hundred
But in a
percent.
more meaningful way. And
Yes,
then you have a great conversation. Imagine you're on planet Earth and there's nobody else there. How miserable would you be? Right? But
exactly.
now there are people there. Take
Mm,
advantage of it. And how many studies do we need? If you maybe it's helpful to know that in psychology we've known this since forever that
mm,
one of the biggest things that will affect your happiness is your
mm,
relationships. Like if you're just by yourself talking to yourself, watching TV, movies, whatever, you're
mm.
not going to be happy. You don't have relationships and things.
That's right.
Like we're not built to be like that.
Exactly.
So yeah, like just having more and more stuff doesn't
A-
help you.
and
Go on.
that's the thing. And I was just going to say, I always find so much wisdom in the Holy Quran. There's every time you read it, you learn more and more stuff and more things, and it's all relevant to us on for our daily lives.
Yeah.
And you know, that's why I feel so. Alhamdulillah, all praise belongs to Allah. I feel proud to be Muslim because it's part of our being and our essence that we have to give to charity. And by doing so, it doesn't necessarily mean give money away. It could be a smile, it could be doing
Yes.
a good action. And all these things, Alhamdulillah, has led me to the place where I work. So I work for a big charity now. But it's just giving back to people that it's so rewarding, and for me, it's not the job. The job is not. It's not actual job for me. I enjoy it so
Yeah.
much. You're meeting with people, you're helping people that are vulnerable, just doing small things, and for them, it's such a big thing because they're quite lonely sometimes.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's very interesting you say that. Sometimes, like, because we're brought up in a sort of materialistic culture,
Mm,
we think for a long time that if we only buy one more thing, we'll be
mm,
happier, right? But if you're brought up in a different culture, well, like we were both brought up in this country. Like, were you
mm.
born in England or
I
Mauritius?
was born in Mauritius, but I came here when I was about 3 years old, so I've been here
Right.
practically all my life.
Your
Yeah.
whole life, right?
Yes.
Okay. So it's like we were brought up in a sort of subculture
Mm,
amongst Muslims, like
mm,
obviously in the real world as well, right? But
mm.
like we were always doing things, like we were told from day one, like do this, go and plant this tree, do that, and we had so much fun doing it.
Of course.
So we have this taste for
Mm,
what really makes you happy. And so we're not as addicted. I think we're still affected by materialism, right?
mm,
Because we see all the adverts and so on, we can be
mm.
drawn into that. But I think that we're really lucky that we were brought up in a sort of sub environment,
Yes.
which really helps. I I'm just gonna squeeze because people might not appreciate all the cool tips that were given in this verse of the Quran. I'm gonna
Mm.
whiz through a few, right?
Yeah.
So it says some weird stuff at first, like, but you might not be appreciate. Like, so fear God as best as you can. What has that got to do with feeling successful? I might just touch on that in a few seconds, right? So we have this weird thing about human beings. We forget that we're gonna die. It's really weird. How can you forget that you're going to die? It's like one of the most important things that can possibly happen. How can we snap out of that, right? Okay, this forgetfulness is being fearful of God. Like, oh my God, I want to meet God. And then as soon as you do that, you stop doing meaningless, stupid things that are not going to make you happy, like collecting endless things. And then there's, if you go through, I do recommend go to the description. I talk about this verse in a lot more detail, web pages, whatever. Yeah. Any last words?
No, no, I agree
Yeah.
100%. That just by sharing what we have, our wealth, we'll have a more meaningful life.
Yes, and meaning is one of the key things psychologists have said for so many years that make us happy. So yeah, you kind of feel like you got a more meaningful life. There's a purpose to your life when you do good things rather than just buy stuff. Okay, cool. What's next on here? Economics. So we've talked about. Let me copy this first, actually. So so this is not just about you personally becoming happy or the viewers, whatever, right? This is like, how can we make a system that can make everybody happy? Okay, so now I'm talking about economics. First, the first stage was like personally. How about a system? We were talking about environments. Environments really affect
Mm.
how we can all feel better and affect us how we relate to each other even. So
Yes.
anyway, question, how can we use money to make the world better, right? So you could think you could do millions of things, but there's one ancient trick that's been taught to the Jews and different people, um, that would help massively. Okay. And so it says, those who devour, again, it's from the Holy Quran, those who devour interest do not rise except rises one whom Satan has smitten with insanity. There's a bit more to that verse, right? But what is interest? It's a really messed up thing, right? But we
Mm.
think, because we think it's a normal part of the economy, we don't realize how messed up it is. We don't know how many times God has like warned us of the dangers of it, right? So
Mm.
interest-based economic systems is warned against in Islam, as it robs the poor to give to the rich. It's like a reverse Robin Hood, right? Okay, forces the world to be mined continuously and makes expensive wars possible. There's a lot of things thrown in there, right? But just to give you an idea, so interest, what who really borrows for interest is the poorer people who don't have enough money already, right? And who are the people who get money from interest? Is the rich people who just leave money in their banks. So it has a sucking up system from poor to rich, which is nuts. Why
Mm.
would you do that, right? And on top of that, you've got forces the world to be continuously mined. So there's something called the GDP, which is the gross domestic product, basically how much the world your country makes, right? Okay, and that has to grow, otherwise your country collapses, because you might be personally borrowing money, but so do rich countries, and most countries are like £1 trillion in debt. Like
Mm.
rich countries are £1 trillion in debt. How does that even work, right?
Mm.
Okay, and they, when they borrow, they have to pay more back than they have. That means
Yeah.
they have to make more than before, which
Mm.
means that, how do you say it? Like, you have to. Where does everything come from? The ground, things you make, right?
Mm.
So, I mean, I'm talking a bit too long, and I tried to make this more chatty, right? But so that Khalid, my friend, actually gets a chance to talk. But the point is, when you're
Mm.
mining the world endlessly, you're going to destroy the environment. That's
Exactly.
like,
Mm.
and then the wars are
Mm.
multi-billion-pound things.
Businesses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nobody could
Mm.
afford them if there was no borrowing on interest. But anyway,
No, no. The thing is, the way interest works is that it's a wholly unfair, and I would say immoral system of economics. And unfortunately, the way things happen and the way we've grown up, the way no one can avoid it. It can be avoided, but only if you have the money to buy off, for example, something rather than paying interest on it, right? You just touched upon one other thing, which was really interesting. You saying how some countries are really wealthy, are trillions of pounds in debt, but then there are countries in, let's say, Africa as a continent. They have a lot of debt as well, right? Uh, Unfortunately, what happens is that institutions like the IMF will say to them, "Okay, we're going to help you clear your debt." And what do they do? They clear their debt, which is, you know, it's just been growing and growing with interest, right? So it's overinflated unnaturally, right? That's the first thing. So then once they pay the debt off for these people, they pay it off with another loan, right? The interest alone on that new money that's been the new loan is worse, and it's actually more than the first original debt. So the thing is, that the country, like say, the continent of Africa, is in a never-ending cycle because, you know,
It's a
we
new
all know
form of
we
yeah,
all know that the country's been ransacked of all its
yeah,
riches. If there's one country in continent, it's Africa, and of course Asia and India. We know how they've been ransacked of all their wealth. That country itself, that the continent of Africa, has so much wealth still, so much oil, so many riches that if it was to become independent, say have its own currency, like Gaddafi was trying to do for them,
yeah,
then they'll be sailing far ahead of
yeah.
everyone.
And then guess what happened to poor Gaddafi, right? When he tried
Surprise,
to
surprise, yes.
fix the problems. Oh, we're gonna
Mm,
save we're gonna
yeah,
save Libya, which is
mm,
a really happy country. Yeah, loads of good things going on, loads of oil, and bang,
yeah,
we
mm,
the West came to save them. Yeah. But
yeah,
yeah, so back to the main point, which is like,
mm,
yeah, it's basically a way of a new form of imperialism. Like you
yeah.
don't have to literally be there. You can run the country just by making them continuously owe you
Mm.
money.
Yes. And this is
Yeah.
one of the beauties of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community to which we belong to, that the NGO Humanity First goes out to so many different parts of Africa and Asia, and they set up colleges, schools, university, educational institutions, and give people the skills and the education to help themselves, so that they become self-reliant rather than becoming reliant on someone, or on other people. That's But the other thing that is important here is, in your question, how can we use money to make the world better? If the money, there's so much money in this world, right?
Yes.
But if the money is distributed correctly and fairly, which is the point, fairly, there shouldn't be poverty in the world. There shouldn't be homelessness in the world. But yet there is. It's ridiculous, you know? It
Yeah.
shouldn't happen.
Yeah, so exactly. So if like 1% of what these billionaires have was
Mm,
given to each of the countries, like
mm,
you wouldn't have a problem. And they really
mm.
but okay, so there's a whole bunch of things that can come up there. Like you
Yeah.
say, oh, the billionaires, should they give their money, right? And so Islam has a sort of two-pronged approach or multi-pronged approach. It says, first of all, don't have this interest because it sucks up the money to one place unfairly, right?
Mm,
Okay, but then it has this thing called zakat, which is basically taxing unused money. So that keeps the money going round. And if you see a healthy economy is where the money is moving really fast. It's called money
exactly.
velocity, right?
Mm,
And so if you have the money stuck in one place, that's basically what interest is. It's like forming clots in the body. It's really
yeah, yeah,
unhealthy, right?
yes.
So there's so many problems, and so Islam has all these different systems, but also it's a moral system where there's only so much control economic systems can have, and so you can't force billionaires to give away their money.
Mm,
But it's Islam teaches that if you give your money, not give away your money, but reinvest the money,
mm,
you'll become richer and you'll be happier because you feel more meaningful in your life. You're actually
mm.
helping other people in your life. So yeah.
Yeah. Do you know there's one interesting thing I saw the other day? There was a lady, she used to live here in the UK. She's of Nigerian descent. And she said, just with £2,000, she bought a plot of land, built a massive house, started her own business, and she's honestly living in a high life there because I suppose there are the facilities here, but everything's so expensive and unnecessarily so. So she's
Hmm.
gone back to Africa and she's living so well, and then by building up a business, she's helping her country as well, you know.
Yeah.
And this is where I think you get the pureness, or I think the best out of the money because it circulates. you're making money, but you're passing it down onto your workers. Your workers are able to look after themselves. They be their health will improve. That builds up the economy. But I
Yeah, and
think
go on. Yeah,
just one last thing.
yeah,
One thing that Khalifa Rabi Rahullah mentioned, the fourth caliph
yeah,
of the Muslim community, said that Africa as a continent is intentionally being kept down so that they are subservient or servants to the capitalist system and to the
yeah.
West.
And they can only really escape one, they become really honest as well, like less
Mm,
corruption in their own countries. So we shouldn't just make them, it's very, I mean, I agree with you 100%, but
mm,
also we have to, oh, I pasted it too early. Anyway, it
mm.
doesn't matter. I kind of wanted to say, kind of building on some one of the things, I'll keep pasting a million times. It's going to clear it in a second. But I kind of wanted to add was that the reason why things are so expensive in this country and why we are forced to use
Mm.
interest-based things like take mortgages and things like that,
Yes.
although I don't want to take a mortgage, but it's another story, is that because
Mm.
everything has been inflated in price. So houses are like £1 million for no reason
Yes.
because they can be afforded through interest, the prices just go up and up. So
Yes.
it's artificial.
100%.
Yeah. So that's why, like, anyway, next thing. So
Yes.
now is one of the key words that a lot of people use is like
Mm.
living in the now and all this kind of stuff. So I don't
Mm.
really exactly believe in living in the now, but um, that was my key word for this particular bit. What can I do to buy happiness now? Because people go, why do I have to like wait a million years to be happy? And that's you don't have
Mm.
to. It doesn't actually take much to be happy because our needs are so little in
Mm.
reality if you stop just going in the wrong direction. So look at those. So this is a saying of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the founder of Islam. Look at those who are below you and
Mm.
do not look at those who are above you, for that is more likely to hold you back from belittling the blessings that Allah, that is God. Allah is just an ancient name amongst many different religions, actually. Even Jesus said Eli, right, which is Hebrew equivalent to Allah, right? Uh,
Yes.
has bestowed upon you. So basically, I love the kind of wordings here, but I won't go into the wordings yet. But our brains are easily confused when we see something that others have. So, like, we could be so happy and content if there
Mm.
weren't rich people around us. But as soon as we look at it, we go, I wish I had that. And then suddenly you're miserable. So, we're
Mm.
so good at making ourselves miserable. So, the trick, really simple trick, if you want to be happy now, just look at somebody who's got less than you and try to avoid like going on Instagram and whatever
Mm.
and going,
Mm.
oh my gosh, I wish I had that. Like
Mm.
you, it's unbelievable. You like it's that's one of the reasons why it's so important to understand psychology because you
Mm.
realize how I don't know what's the word, pathetic, weak, easily
Mm.
manipulated we are to ourselves. Like we mess ourselves up so easily.
Yeah. Well, that's the role of advertisers, isn't it? They show us things that we supposedly need and we want to buy, and then you end up having a house full of junk that you don't only use once. So
Yeah,
it's a really like I say manipulative way
yeah,
of dragging people in and putting people into debt. Um, the question of what can I do to buy happiness? Sometimes people think by playing the lottery or doing gambling, they can win a lot of money and be happy. Do you know how many times I've heard a story of people who actually won the lottery, in the media,
yeah.
and they're not happy. They're not
And
happy.
they use up all their money after like a few years
I know.
somehow.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
exactly. Do you know there's one beautiful verse in the Holy Quran?
yeah,
It says here in chapter 2, verse 44, and observe prayer. See, everything I think needs to be done with prayer with good intentions, right? But it says here, and observe prayer and pay the zakat and bow down with those who bow, right? So there's three things there. First, observe prayer. So remembering Allah, that's the first thing, because
yeah.
everything comes from Allah. So your wealth is not won't come from you, won't come
Like a
from me.
gratefulness thing.
Exactly. That's the
Yes.
first thing. Second thing is pay the zakat. So pay the zakat, pay the Jew. Uh,
Which is
what's
just
due?
another
Yeah,
name for charity.
exactly, right?
Yeah.
And then the third part is bow down with those who bow. So when you're at the mosque and you're praying, you're standing shoulder to shoulder with people that are really poor, really rich. Some people are in between. So I don't know what category we fall into.
Yeah, we're
But
the
the thing
middle
is,
people.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I think you're like me because
Yeah.
I've never been of someone who's been envious and said, "Oh, I like his car, I like his house." I do appreciate a good car, just looking at it, but it's for its beauty, not for its wealth. No,
Yeah.
and the thing is, I always say to people, I always say to my children, look, don't be so, don't look at what people have because we don't know what they went through to get that, and we don't know what hardships they went through to have all those things. What we have, Alhamdulillah, all praise belongs to Allah, is
Yeah.
a lot better than what some people below us. Below us, but I don't mean beneath us, but I mean
Yeah.
some people have less than us. So that's why this
Yes.
this verse is so beautiful. It says, "Look at those who are below you." So look at those who have less than you.
Yeah.
And we're not blind, we're not stupid unless we choose to be. You look around us, how much poverty there is around, how much
Yeah.
homelessness there is around in a country such as the UK that's got so much money. How can there be homelessness? How can there be this huge increase in food banks? For me, I find that really, really shameful. And
Yeah.
just one last thing, if
Yeah.
you may,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
from the Holy Quran, chapter 30, verse
Yeah.
39, it says, "So give to the kingsman his due, and to the needy, and to the wayfarer. That is best for those who seek the favor of Allah, and it is they who will prosper." Now, for me, like I said to you, time and time again, for me, Islam is such a pure, simple religion. But people are stupid. We forget, and we don't always listen to what we're being told. We don't listen to what we read, or we don't understand. But when you try and reflect and analyze and self-analyze what these verses are trying to say to you, it's so simple but so pure and so beautiful. Look, it says here, "So give to the kingsman his due,"
And the
and
kinsman, just
yeah,
so people don't know old English. My kids don't know you're like kinsmen. Your family members, basically. Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the needy, of course, are
Yeah.
needy people, and then to the wayfarer. Wayfarers are just people that are just
Travelers.
travelers,
Yeah.
strangers.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Allah says, once you've done all those things, look, the reward is that is the best for those who seek the favor of Allah. So if you want to become closer to God, this is one of the way. And then it says, and it is they who will prosper, and then you will prosper. See, one other thing very quickly,
Yeah.
you talk about how, what is it that makes people happy? What can you do to buy happiness? I think one is being grateful for what you have, but then also being, I think, uh, not trying to run off like the colloquial expression is chasing the money, chasing the paper. Excuse me,
Yeah.
slang term, chasing the paper. People do that, and like you say on TikToks, they show off this nonsense about how people got wealth. We actually did a program on the Voice of Islam radio station
Yeah.
a few months back, where in China they had actually banned people from showing off their wealth on social media. And the thing is, this. We all know, we're all
Yeah.
aware that it's such a common thing that on social media and where even on the TV, people are just showing off their bling,
Yeah.
so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah.
But in China, they actually banned it. I think it was on
Yeah.
TikTok, if I'm not mistaken,
Right.
for people doing this.
Oh, I was just wondering if
Mm,
something happened or some result because
mm, mm,
Chinese people like in China they do all sorts of really interesting experiments which have
mm.
fantastic results. Like one was like if you want to get a divorce, you have to wait 3 months, and the number of divorces like halved. It's
Oh,
like,
right.
which is kind of very much
Mm,
like
mm,
I think it's exactly the Islamic teaching actually
mm.
about like you have to wait 3 months or something like that. So it's pretty interesting. I was wondering
Mm.
if there was some sort of result that came out of it. I
Yeah.
imagine people would actually be happier.
I think so. I think the thing is,
Yeah,
when there's equality, and this is what the fifth caliph, the global caliph of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, has said. His Holiness
yeah,
Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, may Allah
yeah,
strengthen his hand. He said that when there's this inequalities and there's imbalance and there's a bad distribution of wealth, then this is when there's problems about.
yeah. I just wanted to. I said I
Mm,
might use what I just wanted to explain one of the words that I love to okay on that
mm,
saying before it disappears, right? And it says like belittling the blessings of God, like they are there and we disrespect them.
yeah.
And I want to say I disrespect them all the time. And that's why
Mm,
I have to. It's like I know this stuff and
mm,
I keep getting like, oh, I wish I had this, and then I have to remind myself, and I do the trick, the mental trick of like, oh, there's a poor person who's got less than me, and then suddenly I feel good again. So it's
mm,
like, it's not me saying I'm better than you, or because I'm talking about it. It's like,
mm,
this is what I'm dealing with all the time. We're
mm,
all dealing with it. We
mm.
all suffer from this feebleness of the human mind, is
Yeah.
how I describe it, you know. So
Mm,
all right, so this is another sort of experimental thing. I've been trying to talk about this idea: is
mm,
faith necessarily blind? And I feel like the conversation goes into not the as logically rigorous as I wanted it. So
mm.
I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to do, instead of having a normal conversation, I'm going to come up with lots of kind of like mini questions to guide it. Possibly, let's see how it goes. It might go rubbishly. Who knows? Anyway, so yeah, I really don't know. Each time I'll,
Yeah.
experiment, So is faith necessarily blind? And then quoting from a kind of to give a quick answer from the Holy Quran: true believers are those whose faith who have faith in things they cannot see but have evidence for. Okay, so in short answer, the faith in Islam is doing the right thing based on reasonable evidence. And now reasonable evidence is quite a vague of a word, depends on each person, right,
Mm,
and their own experiences, right? Even when you don't know how it will work out exactly. So there's value in faith, is what I'm trying to get there. It's like, if you knew how it would work out, and you did, like, you knew you're going to do a good deed and
mm,
tomorrow you're going to get paid back somehow in some sort of blessings,
mm,
then it wouldn't have the same value, because you know you're going to get something. When we
mm,
don't know,
mm.
that's the kind of beauty in doing a good action, when you don't know how you're going to get a payback. What did angels do before humans? Okay, so this is my 9-year-old daughter. Maybe that will be question 2. That will be an interesting question. Okay, so we'll talk about that next. I'm not sure how I'm going to answer that one. She comes up with hard questions.
That's beautiful. So intelligent. You can see the intelligence runs in the family. One of the things, like you said, you said that sometimes, the just going back to about how we belittle the things that we have. Just very
Yeah,
briefly, sorry.
go on
This
then.
this is one of the reasons I like to do these programs with you, because I feel that I learn so much. And
Me too.
our faith, everyone's faith is, goes in waves, and it goes up and goes down. But this is why I love doing this show, and you learn so much. And that, from that your daughter's question is really good.
Yeah,
So is faith necessarily blind?
yeah.
I
So I
think,
was going to ask a bunch of
carry on.
questions.
Yeah, please go for it.
Let's see
Yeah.
how my experiment works,
Mm,
right? Do you think it is arrogant to stick to a belief even if the facts are against it?
mm. Is that a rhetorical question? Should
Well,
I answer
maybe.
it?
No, no,
Yeah.
yeah, no, you
Yeah.
answer the question. Maybe it
Yeah.
sounds like a silly question, but
Mm,
people have different opinions on it. And I'm not actually sure how you're going to respond. So I'm just kind of,
mm.
that's why it's very much an experiment.
I think the thing is,
Maybe if it sounds like a silly question, you can give it a quick
no, no,
answer.
no, no.
I've got like 7 questions
No,
lined
no,
up.
it's just no. No, so just to show the program is so quick. This
Yeah,
all the questions are lovely, and it's really makes you think. Do you know, with anything in life, like say you're studying a course or GCSE, right?
yeah,
And for example, or A levels or doing a degree, you can't, you have to stick with it. Even though you sometimes you're not enjoying it, but that ultimately there's going to be a good result with it. And sometimes people say, "Oh, I've been praying." I had this conversation with a friend last time, and he was
yeah.
saying, "Look,
So I
I've been."
get what you're
Yeah,
saying,
yeah,
because that's not a lack of facts. Like,
mm,
you've got some facts. Like, for example, if
mm,
you study, then you
mm,
get to university and you might get a job because you've seen.
yeah,
But I'm saying literally the
mm,
facts are the opposite. It's like you're told the world is flat,
mm,
and then you find out it's not, and you
mm,
keep believing the world is flat.
mm,
So that's all I'm saying. I'm saying
mm,
I'm making it super black and white. Imagine there was that situation,
mm,
and I can demonstrate there are lots of situations. So
mm,
I think spiritual, I don't know, religious people, great in so many beautiful ways, but I think we tend to fall
mm.
for some of those things, is but I'm kind of not going to purposely go into it. So what's your short answer if you believe there was a blatant fact against your beliefs? And yeah, That's a
I,
tricky.
I don't. I
I'm
can't
not.
answer that.
Leave
Yeah,
it. It's okay. Maybe the question is too difficult, right? Okay, in
yeah.
some way, right? Okay. But and I'll
Mm,
quickly explain why. Okay, that
mm.
I've asked that question. The point of
Yes.
this question is that faith can easily become arrogant.
Mm,
Okay, and I use that word arrogant because our spiritual leader called the Khalifa has actually defined arrogance in a really interesting way. He said that arrogance is not being too confident, but not willing to change your mind when you know that your alternate truth, right? And so that's one reason I brought that. I mean, the other reason I brought that because I'm often described or called as arrogant, which is fine. I don't mind. I kind of think there's some element of truth in it, right? Okay. But really, I mean, if
mm,
I said there was nothing wrong with me, I would be worried about myself. Like, I know there's plenty of things wrong with me, and that's
mm,
whatever, right? And I want to work on it all the time, right? But anyway, the point is, the reason why it feels like I'm arrogant when I'm making a point that loads of people are disagreeing with is because in people's mind, and this is really important to get hold of, I think, okay, is that they think we're the majority. Who are you to disagree with us? Like, who do you think you are? Do you think you can have an opinion that's against the majority? Because that seems arrogant.
mm,
But I want to kind of point out this really important thing from the Holy Quran and
mm,
based on psychology as well. The majority are normally wrong. It's actually what, so the Quran says
mm,
that the majority will lead you away from the truth. Doesn't
mm,
mean everything they literally say is wrong. Okay, you
mm,
do have to look at check of the evidence, but if you find the evidence is against what you're saying, that
mm,
you're the majority and the evidence is against what you're saying, you should really be careful. And when I was 16, I noticed, because I've been studying psychology for a long time, I
mm,
realized how the majority are so badly wrong so much of the time,
mm,
that I decided to be a weirdo there and then as a principle of commitment,
mm,
and very quickly there's things like, if you want to study a bit of psychology, Price's law, Pareto's principle, all of these things tell you that it's the minority, the tiny minority, that produce most of the useful output. Okay,
mm,
so that's kind of a bit of the background that will help people deal with this issue when they see people, a minority, saying something that is so different and they just can't believe. But anyway, the next thing I want to put is, did I put the last one on the screen? I did, didn't I? Yeah. So I put this one. I'm sorry for that, a lot of talking, but I thought it was kind of
mm.
important to kind of. Did you know Hitler's Nazi Germany was made possible because faith not based on facts? Have you ever heard of? Did you like study Nazi Germany and like the kind of propaganda that was used, which is
I think
based on
we,
half truths?
I think we all did.
Yeah.
A bit too much. It'd be nicer to learn about different parts of history, but yeah, I think we all had it kind of, for lack of expression, shoved down our throats time and time
But
again. So
it's very important because
mm,
history is
mm,
always repeating itself, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
we don't realize the
mm,
extent to which is already happening at the
mm.
moment. There's huge amount that's actually happening at the moment, which is exactly repeating what Hitler's Nazi Germany
Oh
did.
yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Mm,
And the biggest lesson that people don't realize, okay,
mm,
and this happens if you study psychology and whatever, is
mm,
that it was ordinary people. The Germans were not bad. It's
mm,
just when you're really ordinary, and when I say ordinary, like you go along with things,
mm,
that's when terrible things happen. Because the time
mm,
is running out, just take my word for it. Maybe search ordinary men. There's a
mm,
great book called Ordinary Men. It talks about how ordinary men in Nazi Germany were made into murderers. Very easy to do if you
mm,
don't keep strict with the truth. Okay, next question. I'm running out of time really fast.
mm,
Okay, is this is going to be more interesting, and it might
mm.
be a hard question. Okay, and I'll paste it here quickly. And again, guys, if you're listening in, you can give your point of view. Is there any benefit in listening to incorrect orders from a religious superior, such as scientifically incorrect medical advice? Is there any benefit? Maybe there is. Who knows?
So, I,
And I
I like
can
this.
demonstrate there has been. Yeah,
Okay,
like
so,
clear
so
cut. No doctors
yeah,
disagree with what I'm saying.
so sure, sure. I think there's one thing that I heard, a while back, and basically the one of the fourth caliph of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, may Allah have mercy on him, he said that sometimes, he goes, we're just humans as well as caliphs, as
Yes.
leaders of the, but he says, Allah will make it happen so that that mistake will become correct if you believe that, you know.
Yes, there is a verse of the Holy Quran that goes in that sort of order. I
Mm,
think there's a way in which that can and cannot work, but that's very interesting. But that kind of reminds me, I put in the description videos where the fourth Khalifa, for example, the previous spiritual leader of our Ahmadi Muslim community, said that everybody is learning from each other. And so you like he is human, he can make mistakes, and if we tell each other and we listen to each other, we're all this is the most beautiful way to become wise. Why wisdom is when
mm,
you seem incredibly wise if you keep learning, because very few people keep learning.
mm.
Anyway, let's go to Sundus's question. I've got no. I'm thinking about how to answer this question. I'm gonna paste it. I can't paste it anyway. So, what did angels do before humans? And I kind of want it to be somehow useful as well. We don't want to just answer a theoretical question.
Mm.
Any thoughts about that? I don't.
Uh, I would say that they were carrying out the orders of God Almighty, but then what were they doing? I'm not sure.
You know what? I'm
Mm,
going to say I don't know, and
mm,
I'm not sure. See, this show is about being practical. I
mm,
love, the question, whatever. They are essentially, as far as I understand, forces of nature,
mm.
let's say in a simple
Yeah.
way. But what were they doing before? We don't know. And my answer also is like I kind of said that I really want this show not to be some do I know the answer to the question, but
Mm.
how can I help people? This show is literally about helping people on the very basics, and that's why I just kind of move past this question. But I really appreciate the questions and this just
Good
so I could
question.
yeah, good question, but some questions are absolute genius questions as well, where like practically,
Mm.
they're really helpful as well. But anyway, so next question, let's quickly whiz it in, is um what? Oh, this is the question we cannot miss. I'm really looking forward to. So I'm just intrigued because I'm going to be learning possibly here. I've never met a person who's had a out of body experience until now. So, um, I mean, I is it?
Mm.
You can read this. There's so what is the reality behind out of body experiences? I don't really know. Okay, there's a verse of the Holy Quran that says the soul, which is basically like if we see the body as a machine, including the
Mm.
brain, there's something that's going to be controlling, pulling the levers,
Mm.
as it were, and so we can call that even scientists or let's say neuroscientists, experts, they appreciate there's a thing called a mind. Okay,
Mm.
even Freud understands this idea of a conscience, which is somehow separate from the mechanics of the body, right? So it's not a new idea. So in the Quran, it says this thing about the souls are taken away at sleep time. So maybe there's some truth in it. And apparently, there's loads of documented situation and I actually trust Khalid, right? Because I've known him for a very long time. This Khalid down there, I don't consider him a liar, and he says he's had an out of body experience. And so, beside me saying I don't know anything about it, I'm really intrigued in what you've got to say. Like, tell me about your experience. Did it change the way you looked at life afterwards?
Okay, so I was quite young, and I was going to school, and I was basically crossing the road, and this car was like fast approaching me, and before I knew it, the car hit me. So I was fairly young. I think I must have been, I think 9 or 10, right? And so the car hit me. Next thing I know, I kind of like see myself in slow motion going over the. Well, I didn't see myself go over the bonnet, but I felt my head hit the ground. I went over the car. Someone salted on the other side. Bang! Hit my head, and I was knocked out. Now,
Hmm.
when I was knocked out, it was a really cold day. I remember that because it's quite cold, and I was wearing double layers of everything, right? But in that instant that I was there, I started to see a tunnel of light, and I was going up and up, and I was being not going up, but I was being pulled towards the light. Now, Khalid, like I said, like you said, we've known each other. Honestly, hand on heart, that was the most calming, the most beautiful experience at that time. I didn't feel any sort of um, fear or anything. It was the most
Yeah.
amazing experience. At the time that I was actually sort of being pulled up towards the light, right? I could see at one point, I could see the people that were gathered around me. So I saw there was the woman who had knocked me over,
Yeah.
yeah, and then there was some passers-by who were just there as well. Now I was getting pulled up higher and higher, and the feeling of joy was increasing more and more and more. But then at one point, I realized what was happening, and I said, "Oh, I've still got my family." And like I said, I was still young, and I at that point really felt that I'm not fear, but I miss my family. So I said, no, I want to go back to my family. So then I went my kind of descended back into myself kind of thing, and it's really surreal, and I'm probably not explaining it properly, but there's two things. I saw the people around me. I was being pulled up towards this light, and it was so happy. There was no like music going, oh, like
Yeah,
harps and
but
all that.
is there anything verifiable? Like you saw
Mm,
people,
mm.
and could you say, did you manage to speak to say, and like I saw X, Y, and Z, and they were wearing this kind of jumper, or
No, no, no,
there
no.
wasn't any way of
No,
checking that?
because I tell you, because the thing is, when I woke up, yeah, because I had
Yeah,
been knocked out, I woke up and I was actually crying because I had seen myself going up, and I knew that that was a one-way ticket, right? But
yeah,
I wanted to go back because I said to myself, I miss my family. So I was only crying not because of the pain,
yeah,
of the cold and everything, but it's just because I was missing my family. So I woke up
yeah,
consciously. When I woke up, I had was this really bad
yeah.
headache, and I was freezing. And then like some nice people like trying to sort of calm me and make me feel better, but I didn't. After that,
Where did you wake up, in the hospital or on the ground? And
on the ground,
okay, right.
yeah.
So you weren't knocked out for long or something,
No, yeah, yeah. I don't know how
right?
long I was knocked out for, but it
Yeah,
was a really, really quick experience.
yeah.
But that feeling, that out of body experience was amazing.
Yeah,
Mm,
and it's very interesting that you say this. A lot of people
mm,
describe there's different ways of kind of. So there's a really
mm,
popular TED talk. I'm a big
mm,
fan of TED talks, and
mm,
there's one called um a stroke of insight, where
mm,
basically a lady has a stroke where half her brain stops working. Basically, the left hand side, which is the organization side, right?
mm,
So the right hand side, basically, it cannot just when you have the left hand side stop working, you cannot distinguish between you and everything else. And she had this sense of peace, and you care a lot about this kind of thing where when you're detached from everything else, you
mm,
have this beautiful sense of peace. You sent me a video about somebody else who had
mm.
um what's it called, this out of body
But
experience, and he
yes.
also talked about this
Mm,
incredible peace, right?
mm,
Which
mm,
I find an interesting word,
mm,
because that's what Islam,
mm,
pulls you towards, like this incredible serene experience. It's not like the high of taking drugs, I
mm,
imagine. It's
mm,
kind of like the beauty of being in nature,
mm.
which we're told by psychologists makes us happy somehow. We don't, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, because you know the thing with nature, what people appreciate with nature, so the fresh air, the countryside, grassy fields, and so on, and hills, and so is because it's pure. You know, there's no pollution. There is that feeling of pureness. So this is why it's just um it's just so I don't know, so amazing and so happy. And the one thing I did get from that, was that I'm not even from that young age. I'm not fear. I'm not scared of dying.
Yeah,
Because I know, and although I didn't see what's on the other side, I could feel that going towards the light was this pure happiness and this pure
yeah.
serenity.
Yeah, so I mean, that's kind of useful for me. Like I often think about how it would be to die, because
Mm,
I'm kind of always reflecting on my life and like, am I ready for it
mm,
to move on, sort of thing. So yeah, because I kind of had that feeling. Oh, that's nice. I'm glad. I'm glad it's not that bad when you die.
yeah,
So yeah, Jazakallah for sharing. I really appreciate you sharing that. And so
mm.
that was the main takeaway you felt when you
Yeah,
had
I
that. That
mean,
was, did it.
the thing is, it happened when I was really young, and I didn't sort of reflect upon it
Yeah.
till much later, and until recently when some people were asking about it. And the thing is, one of the things is that I would say I do have this. I try to be humble and have some humility about what I do have, what I what I what I
Yeah, I
can do. Yeah.
suppose when if you know you're gonna die and where you're gonna go, there's no point showing up because you're not gonna be better than God, right? It's like
Yeah.
that's just stupid. Like like if you literally thought I'm
Mm.
gonna go and meet God, say you're standing in front of God, you're not gonna be showing off your bling. It's like
Mm.
when I was back on earth, I had gold bracelets. Like
Yes.
that's stupid. But
Yeah.
when you're detached from that,
Mm.
you kind of kid yourself about what's important and how
Exactly.
important you are. So
Mm.
yeah. Okay, so another very interesting conversation. Are organized religions bad? And so, verse from the Holy Quran, as usual, they deem it as a favor to thee that they have embraced Islam. So it's talking to Prophet Muhammad,
Mm.
like, so God is saying, like, these people who are becoming Muslims, they think they're doing you a favor. Okay,
Mm.
say I like to get rid of these old words like deem whatever, so I'll semi-translate. But
Mm.
don't think you're like if you listen to God or you call it Islam or Christianity or whatever, whichever method it is, right? Don't think you're doing God a favor.
Mm.
Okay. On the contrary, God is doing a favor on you by guiding you, like showing you a way. It's like if you bought a self-help book and
Mm.
it worked, you wouldn't be so grateful. Wouldn't you be so grateful for that book? That's what God is doing, and He doesn't get anything from you.
Yes.
There's like God is too powerful for you, like an
Mm.
ant, to be for you, like to get any, anything of benefit from you. So I kind of explained what I was saying down there. What are your thoughts?
So, just can I ask you just one quick question? What
Yes.
What do you mean by the term organized religion?
Yeah. So that's the funny thing. So religion
Mm.
that's organized.
Yeah.
And when I think of organized religion, I think
Mm.
of like an organized company. And I think that's actually a good thing. But I mean,
Yeah. Well, see,
yeah,
this is why I love this question. I was so happy I was looking forward to this question. Thing is,
yeah,
look, every single part of our life is organized. It has to be. There is some sort of method. For example, you're as a pedestrian, you're walking down the street, right? The simple task of crossing the road, you're going to stop, you're going to press the button, you're going to cross over the zebra crossing, right? That's some
yeah.
sort of organization. You go to school, there's an organization. You start the day with the register, blah blah blah, and then your day structured out, right?
Hmm.
Everything in life, every single thing in life, even though we don't think about it, every aspect of our life, every sort of little thing you do in the house, outside of the house, everything you do with your family, everything is structured. Everything is organized, right? If it were not organized, so what would the alternative question be? Are disorganized religions good then? You know, all religions, all not just religions, all
Yeah,
aspects of life, I think are organized. And you said it yourself. You answered the question yourself very beautifully at the beginning
yeah,
that a religion, for example, might be set up like a business, and if it weren't, what would be the alternative? Now you know, and I know, growing up in the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, there's all the different auxiliary organizations, the youth organization, the young boys, the ladies organization, and so on. And and every aspect of them, they have the secretary for sports, the secretary for health, secretary for finance, and different aspects. And so the thing is,
and they're all helping us in different ways and
exactly.
organizing cool trips to
Yes,
wherever,
yes,
for kids
exactly.
and everything.
Exactly. No, no. Look at the simple, or I'll say simple, but look at the thing of prayers, for example, right? When you're praying, there's a certain organization that needs to happen. There's the steps that you take for prayer. You start with the ablution. You do your intention to start praying. You put the prayer mat out. You have your head covering on, and then you do your prayers.
Yeah. Oops, did something happen? Oh, oh, I can't hear you for a second.
That's fine.
Oh,
I'll just
good,
mute
good,
it.
good.
Yeah,
Carry on,
yeah,
carry on. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, is that the end of your comment? I thought you were about to say something. Sorry. Okay, so I actually, one of the key things I think of when I think about organized religion is about the prayers where people come together. Like I love it in Arab countries where they've got mosques in every five, like few hundred meters, right? And everybody just stops and comes together as a community. Like it takes organization to be a community. It takes, you need like an agreement on this is the time when we're going to chill out together and be a community again. If you don't have that, you never get together and never talk. Like I do this really boring, supposedly boring thing. I say every month I'm going to talk to a cousin, right? So nowadays we're so busy, we're all really to be, we're all close, right? But nobody calls anybody. But then I've turned it into a system where like it sounds really boring, but I'm going to like call my cousin this month, and it's going to happen even if I've got nothing to talk about and we have a great conversation. So the point is, you need all these mini organized things. They sound boring,
Mm.
but like they're the things that make community possible,
Mm.
connection possible.
Definitely, 100%. It's look. I mean, look, like we're coming up to to the holy month of Ramadan, the month of fasting. Now, if they again, we have a timetable of the start time of the fasting and when we break our fast. So if there was no structure there, what would we be doing? We would just be everyone would be sort of starting at one time, finishing at another time. If there was no balance, this is where I
Yeah.
think
Do you know? Do you remember Jenny Craig? There's a fasting thing. Not fasting. Sorry, the weight losing company or something. When we were small, we used to make fun of it too much. So maybe it's a bad name, right? But anyway, the point is, like, there are these organizations that you go to if you want to lose weight, and they all encourage each other and stuff like that. That's like Ramadan, the holy month of Ramadan, where everybody goes, right, we're all fasting and we're all doing it together, and we can't, you get, it's become so easy and it actually
mm,
becomes fun because at the end of the day we're all going to eat together, right? And not only going to eat together in your own house, it could be the whole mosque,
mm,
hundreds of people getting together and eating, and that's just so much fun. It's like being one of those communes or something.
mm.
Do you know what I mean? Like you really get connected. So
Yeah,
that's organization again.
exactly. And the
Maybe, I
thing,
mean, yeah, go on.
no, no,
Yeah.
no, it's 100%. And the thing is, the joy of, like you said, when you saw yourself, you lived in the Middle East for a while as well,
Yeah.
and you saw, I mean, even here in the UK, obviously, but more so, I think, in the Middle East, when you see people when it's the time for prayer and everyone just walks towards the mosque, they pray and they stop and they reflect together, they say their prayers and then go back to what they're doing afterwards. And you know, I thought I was going to say now, yeah,
Hmm.
but sorry,
It's all
it's
right. If you've
still
lost what you're going to say,
yeah.
I can carry on. But
Carry on,
I,
please.
I
Yeah.
feel like this, we won't be honestly answering the question if we didn't deal with the reason why
Mm,
people have fear of organized religions. Okay.
mm,
And it's not actually because it's organized,
mm,
but it's kind of because of that. Because when they see organized religion, they see it as a way of potentially controlling them, right? So,
mm,
how do we deal with that, right? And the real problem is that it's the problem is when you kind of have these politicians who are pretending to be religious people who use that religion to control people, and that's where the problems come, you know.
mm, mm,
And so if you look at actual religion, they say, well, you're free to do whatever you want, you don't
mm,
have to do anything, you don't have to fast, it's
mm,
like up to you.
mm.
So that's one thing. You got any comments about
Yeah,
that?
just one thing, just thinking back to the time when the what were they called now? The settlers, the religious settlers who went to America, the founding fathers, and not them, but the pilgrims or whatever
Yeah.
they were called.
Yeah,
You know,
Puritans or
the
something
Puritans,
like that.
right? Now,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
they landed there in what's known as the USA now, right?
yeah.
And so, what were they doing? How were they preaching? They were going around to the native Indians saying, right, all your beliefs are rubbish. You have to become Christian. For me, that's organized religion, and it's done in a forceful way.
Hmm.
In Islam, there's a verse in the Holy Quran which says that there's no compulsion in religion. You can't
Yes.
force anyone. You can't change anyone's hearts. But that, for me, is a good example of organized religion, where you got this Spanish Inquisition, you got the Armada. You got the
Yeah.
Crusades. All these things. That was an
So that's
organized effort.
brilliant. So what you're saying is when religion becomes corrupted, then it becomes dangerous. Because like if Christians were really Christians, say the Puritans or
Mm.
the Inquisition, how could the Inquisition possibly happen if they followed the teachings of Jesus, who said if somebody slaps you on one side, offer the other? Like,
Yes,
how can you oppress somebody? They'll be slapping themselves on the face or something ridiculous. I don't know what would happen, right?
exactly.
But yeah, but anyway, time has run out. And the other thing I want to say in 1 second is people think organized religion is anti-science.
Mm.
It's not. Islam talked about evolution right in the beginning of the Quran, right? And it's all sorts of stuff. So anyway, we could talk forever. Really appreciate Khalid coming on the show. My
Thank you.
old friend. Really good conversation, really interesting. Thank you for taking part. Whoever Salim 14, I think I know who you are, and Sundus, and anybody watching during, after, whatever. Always feel free to comment in the non-live chat because I'm always answering those questions as well. And please do press the like button. Really appreciate it, because when you do, I think it goes out to a few more people. I don't care about likes myself, but I do care about this stuff that is happening in the show. Is very rare, and it'd be great if it was spread. You guys could help spread the word by pressing the like button or sharing it and all that kind of stuff. Peace be upon you. Let's have a quick chat
Yes.
offline just to catch up anyway. But anyway, everybody, peace be upon you. Catch you next week.